this gets in deeper and deeper with this horrific story now. First of all, Karen had the news update earlier on this morning. Now we're up to 10 people. 10 elderly residents of the rehab center in Hollywood Hills have died since that power outage as a result of Irma now. And now you get the story that we just had a couple of minutes ago. Now the nursing home is suing the state because they can't do business.
They can't do business. There's an emergency summit in Tallahassee today, and both sides are meeting, and I don't know what they're trying to figure out in that one. The nursing homes trying to blame the governor because they said they called the governor during Hurricane Irma and he never answered any of their calls. And I'm thinking,
why didn't you call 911?
911, or why didn't you walk across the street to the hospital?
Let's get some answers on this. Quentin Brogdon is a former prosecutor, a civil litigator. Good morning, sir. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Jen and Bill. How are you?
Well, good. Is there a case? Could we actually see people up on charges from, working from the nursing home, either administrators or nurses, about this?
Absolutely. It's being looked at, and it's just going to hinge upon whether the culpability meets the Florida test for, culpably negligent.
Yeah.
Whether it was consciously doing an act or following a course of conduct they knew or should have known was likely to cause death or great bodily injury. And you can have a real debate about that here.
I don't see where there's a debate. Common sense as a nurse practitioner, even a volunteer at a nursing home. If there's a hospital across the street and you can't get in touch with 911, why wouldn't somebody go next door?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seems from everything we know, they have a strong case, the families of the patients, and there for negligence in a civil case, and the lawsuits have been filed, and it's going to be hard to see that jurors in this case won't be inclined to award money.
Yeah,
and the question is whether folks go to jail or prison, and who. That's a different but related question, no question.
How about from the other side? Now we have this story where the nursing home is suing the state so that they can, while the investigation's going on, they can open back up for business, accept new patients. Do they have a case?
Well, anybody can sue anybody, but
Yeah.
Florida's Agency for Healthcare Administration issued an emergency suspension order on Wednesday, and it's going to be hard, I think, to undo that. When you've had 10 patients die, you didn't have one, you've now had 10, and as you said, there's a hospital across the street 50 yards away, and now you have some reports of late false entries in the records, so it seems to be a systemic issue. At least it smells like one at this nursing home. So it's going to be tough for them to get that lifted.
Quentin, you said as far as criminal charges are concerned, would it be the caregivers that were there, the owner of the facility? I mean, where does the blame ultimately lie?
It's a fact-specific analysis, and none of us know all of the facts. We know what's been reported in the media, and it certainly appears to be egregious when you have a hospital 50 yards away that has air conditioning and the folks aren't moved out, and then they start dying one after another. So it just depends upon who had the responsibility, the authority, and the ability to move this. If there's a specific caregiver, for example, who said, let's move these folks across the way, but the manager or one of the supervisors said, no, we can't do it, we won't do it, whatever, then it would be tough to hold that specific caregiver responsible. If, on the other hand, the specific caregiver was in care of a patient and knew and should have known and consciously disregarded that, then perhaps you can look at criminally charging a specific caregiver. I would think it would be high-ups in the chain, though, who would be focused on for specific criminal responsibility if they're going to indict people and hold them criminally responsible.
The governor has been... He's held nothing back, and the full administration is holding nothing back. They're putting full blame on the facility on this. What kind of weight would that potentially carry in a trial?
It carries a lot of weight, and it puts a lot of pressure on the nursing home. I mean, as you said, the state of Florida has jumped on this with both feet.
Yeah,
the emergency suspension order, a lot of the comments that have been publicly issued. And so the jurors, potential jurors in a civil case will hear that. It's going to be hard to get that out of anybody's mind if you're selecting jurors in these civil lawsuits going forward. And it just puts a lot of pressure on the nursing home in the event there are criminal charges brought to, perhaps do plea deals or something else, because you have a big statewide sentiment, not only from the government, but just in the media and elsewhere, that this is so egregious.
If it does go to trial, does the governor get called as a witness?
Well, of course, that is possible. But, when you're the governor or the president of the United States or whoever you are, there's certainly the potential that there's an argument about that. And maybe, for instance, when there was talk about President Trump testifying in civil cases after he became president, one of the remedies that was discussed or workarounds was that he would give a deposition. They would videotape that and make that testimony, the cross-examination and the direct examination, at a convenient time for the president, and then it could be played later in the trial. And particularly in a civil trial, depositions, videotaped, and otherwise are used all the time. So is it beyond the realm of possibility in civil cases the governor could testify? No. I think the argument in the nursing home that, we called the governor and he didn't call us back in the middle of a hurricane is a weak one.
Yeah.
Take them across the street, do what you need to do imminently. The governor can't call everyone back. I mean, that's kind of a silly argument, frankly.
He was a little busy trying to prep people for a hurricane at the time,
Protect the rest of the state, you think, maybe?
It's fascinating. I mean, it's horrifying, but it's fascinating to watch here from so many different angles. Quentin Brogdon, a former prosecutor, civil litigator. Love to have you back on for perspective on this. Thanks for the input.
Thanks, Jen and Bill. Appreciate it.
You got it.